We have seen a couple of smartphones with dual camera setups over the years, starting with the LG Optimus 3D, the HTC Evo 3D, the HTC One M8, and now the Huawei P9, co-engineered with Leica. Nope, these lenses are not made by Leica. The Huawei P9 is one of the most highly anticipated smartphones that aims to deliver a superior photography experience simply because of the Leica branding on the phone. So let's forget all those marketing terms and dive into details on what the Huawei P9 really is in real life. The P9 looks a lot like its predecessor on the front. In fact, it is hard to tell them apart until you put it side by side. The P9 is shorter than the P8 in width, and the back now comprises of an extremely fast rear fingerprint scanner and 2 camera lenses. Fortunately, the P9 retains the compact and sleek aesthetic as its predecessor. It feels good to hold and my thumb is able to reach most of the screen as stayed. Despite of all those similarities, the P9 does have a couple of hardware changes. For instance, the hybrid SIM tray, a USB Type-C port, the iPhone port next to it, and the text-strip power button. Overall, I'm glad with the P9's minimalistic design. The Huawei P9 is no slouch when it comes to performance. The phone has Huawei's flagship Kirin 955 octa-core processor, 3GB of RAM, 32GB of internal memory, and a 3000 mAh battery. The phone's display is coated with a 2.5D curved glass and produces vivid colors at 1080p resolution. In terms of software, the P9 runs on the latest stable build of Emotion UF 4.1 based on Android Marshmallow. I find it faster and more reliable than the Mate 8 software, but that could be also due to the faster processor on the phone. Now, let's have our focus on the dual 12MP camera on the P9. Phones in the older days used dual cameras in either capturing 3D images or measuring depth of field. The P9 has each of these lenses capture different color sets, one with RGB and the other purely monochrome. And with these 2 lenses activated, you tend to get a wider dynamic range and deeper contrast in photos. Huawei and Leica's collaboration happens in the phone's camera software. Leica camera users will find a familiar resemblance of the icons and text found on their cameras. The available camera modes on the P9 makes things a little more interesting. For instance, night mode takes beautiful low light shots with very controlled noise levels, while light painting lets you do beautiful light trims. If you ever want to show off your pictures taken with the P9, there's even a watermark feature that stamps the phone's watermark on pictures you have taken on the phone. The camera's Pro mode can be easily activated by swiping up from the bottom. I'm particularly impressed on the phone's exposure time and manual white balance adjustment feature. The ISO speed range is also very decent for a smartphone camera. Even though the camera software is considerably comprehensive, the lack of a physical camera shutter key is disappointing, but definitely not a deal breaker. Photos taken with the P9's main camera may have great color reproduction and detail in good lighting conditions. However, it falls short in low light when compared to other flagships. This low light image in particular is taken with the P9 in auto mode, while this is taken with the Galaxy Note 5 in auto mode. The difference between these 2 images are pretty obvious. The Galaxy Note 5 takes brighter pictures all thanks to its larger sensor size and f1.9 aperture, while the P9 loses out with its slower f2.2 aperture. That's not all. I also realized that the P9's camera software tends to compress images a lot more than the Galaxy Note 5 when shot using JPEG, which is why the latter has minimal loss of detail when compared to the former. Nevertheless, the P9's dual camera setup is still a decent one, though not as great as the manufacturer claims. The phone's video recording capability is also average and lacks the option to record 4K. Although Huawei claims that the P9's battery life isn't as good as the Mate series, the phone's 3000 mAh battery is still able to last me a full working day on a moderate use. The Kirin 955 SoC continues to deliver an efficient and fast user experience throughout the review period. However, its GPU fails to deliver a satisfactory frame per second result in benchmarks. The P9 is a great beginning for Huawei to compete in the smartphone photography space. By all means, the partnership with Leica is nothing more than just a gimmick to make people believe that the phone's camera is made by the camera maker, while most of the collaborative effort lies in the software algorithm, which is something difficult to perceive by the average user. But still, that doesn't mean that the P9 has a bad camera, but it just isn't going to replace a DSLR in any way. The Huawei P9 retails at 2099 ringgit, which is a very reasonable price to pay for if you can't afford smartphones with a good camera.